7-year-old Pradyuman was very excited on the morning of September 8th when his father dropped him to school. That was the last time his parents saw him alive. Minutes later, the child was found dead in the school washroom in a pool of blood with his throat slit.
एक बच्चा जो कि ब्लड से पूरी तरह लथपथ है, कपड़े में एक रैप किया और दो स्कूल के जो स्पोर्ट्स स्टाफ है उसको कैरी कर रहे थे, दो मैडम साथ साथ रोती रोती चल रही थी। वो उस बच्चे को कॉरिडोर से लाया गया है।
Investigation soon revealed just how callous the school management had been towards the safety of its students, and parents across the country stepped out on the streets demanding answers.
We as a parents have gathered here to understand, number one, what is the security to our child.
Around 14th August, I have given one written complaint against one teacher. But not yet I have, अभी तक मुझे कोई भी रिटर्न एक्सप्लेनेशन नहीं मिला हुआ है।
मेरे बच्चे का सेकंड टर्म चालू होने वाला है, मेरे बच्चे को आज तक आई कार्ड इश्यू नहीं हुआ है।
As the news began to tighten around the top bosses of Ryan International, the Haryana police made a dramatic U-turn. 24 hours after claiming that the school authorities tampered with evidence, the police contradicted its own statement.
देखिए, जो पुलिस थी वो अपनी तफ्तीश पूरी कर चुकी थी, उसमें टेम्परिंग वाली कोई बात ऐसी सामने नहीं है।
Meanwhile, CEO Ryan Pinto and his associates continued to cry political conspiracy, even as the prospect of their arrest loomed large.
जस्टिस चंद्रचूड़ और जस्टिस खानविलकर जब इस मैटर की सुनवाई कर रहे हैं, इस मैटर में ये कोर्ट कोई भी ऑर्डर ना पास करे जब तक कि सुप्रीम कोर्ट ये मैटर सुनवाई कर रहा है, ये हम कहा और हमने बेल एप्लीकेशन का विरोध किया।
But the appalling state of our schools have drawn the attention of the centre, and high-level meetings are being held. So on the urban debate, we ask the management to mandate school parent involvement in school governance and strict punishments for schools which violate the set laws. Mirror Now report.
Good evening, I'm Seher Zama. And the reason that we have discussing this on the urban debate tonight as well, relentlessly covering this case and the issue for the past 5 days. We've also made it a part of our campaign, Make Our Schools Safe, and we discover a new aspect to it each given time. On tonight's show, the 1-hour discussion that we're going to be having, it is specifically about our rights as parents. When we get our child admitted to a school, what rights do we have to ensure that the school administration is following the security and safety guidelines? Are parent association bodies strong enough to take on a school management? If we go to court, in case of a lapse, it would be under what laws? Can a school management on legal and technical grounds really be held responsible for a lapse? And do we need a new law in place which recognizes specifically only the rights of parents? Should our HRD and Women and Child Ministry take this into account as well when they meet tomorrow in discussing existing guidelines or also designing a new framework of guidelines? Let's throw this open to our guest tonight. We have with us Mr. Raman Malik, spokesperson of the BJP, Ms. Anubha Sahai, who is the president of India-wide Parents Association, Mr. Ramakant Gaur, senior lawyer at the Supreme Court, Ms. Kavita Singhvi, who is the secretary of the Members International Schools Association, and also Mr. Vivek Rangabhasyam, who is the Chief Innovation Officer at Bari Bath. I'm first going to go to Mr. Ramakant Gaur. Mr. Gaur, we're doing this discussion to understand, while there are several existing guidelines that clearly spell out what it means to have safety and security on ground, what the schools should be doing. There are guidelines under the CBSC, there are guidelines issued by the Supreme Court, the NCPCR, the respective State Commission for Child Safety, but there are none which address parents' rights in this regard. Mr. Gaur.
See, there are n number of guidelines, there are n number of laws which protects the basic tenet of the rights of the parents. I start with the Constitution of India, which provides every citizen of this country has a right to life, which is well defined under Article 21. Everyone under the umbrella of law has the status of equality. That is also the part of law. Any other law flows from there. But the unfortunate and the most tragic part is that there is no willpower of the executive to implement the same. There may be laws, but who is looking after the perspective whether these laws are seriously abided or not? Once the school
let's
is
get
given
a bit more specific on this, because we're thrashing out this discussion in very, very minute detail.
Like
help us understand, when you're saying that there are existing laws, give me an example. Tomorrow, if a parent wants to take a school management to court, under what laws? Is it going to be under general criminal law, or is there any specification that a parent can exercise his right?
I'm coming to that.
Okay.
Like you take Gurgaon's tragic incidents. A crime occurred in a premises of school, but somehow the school management is not being prosecuted in a proper perspective. The negligence is committed by the school. There is a criminal who has committed a criminal act, he is being prosecuted. But what is happening against the management? Management is being let off. So the parents have a right to prosecute that management of the school. They must come forward and register a complaint under the criminal provisions, as well as they must approach CBSE for de-recognition of that school, because I'm told that this school is built in a residential premises. So the parents have to approach the municipal corporation.
No, but Mr. Gaur, the parents have to individually do all the running around. Is there an existing body that can take suo motu cognizance or be representing an aggrieved parent in this regard in court? Instead of individually hiring a lawyer and doing...
With all great respect, no one takes suo motu cognizance. We have the executives who are not bothered after granting the recognition, and we have the politicos who are not bothered at all what is happening on the floor. They are happy with their own votes. And I'm not accusing any party specific, I'm very specific on the political persons at large.
Ms. Kavita Sanghvi, based on what Ramakant Gaur is saying, you're the secretary of the Members of International Schools Association. It's a large body which has close to 78 schools, which represents parents of close to 78 schools. Do you feel empowered as a parent? Do you think parents really have the right to take a powerful school management to court, as what Mr. Ramakant Gaur has been saying, that there are rights existing but we're perhaps unaware? Or it's a tough battle?
The parents definitely have a lot of authority, because the minute anything goes to media, they get a lot of support. So based on the support, obviously they can win a lot of battles. But it is not that easy also. As I said, there is not many rights given to the parents, but definitely parents can take a lot of measures. And as in every school, if there's a powerful PTA, then it really works a lot.
No, there's a huge if. If there is a powerful PTA, if a case goes to the media, what if not? What does the parent do then?
Then the parent has to approach the respective government, the state government, and has to file a case.
And what if the police is not willing to file a case on this? What if there is a clear sign that the government is in nexus with a very strong school business house or school management, not willing to take any action whatsoever? What then? We're looking at the circumstance, the reason why we're having this discussion, because we're keeping the extreme case of Pradyuman in mind on what a parent can do. There have been parents protesting across the country today in the wake of this case. We as parents want to know our rights. Do we continue protesting? Do we be sent away by school management saying that nothing can be done? Shut up, you've paid your fees, shut up and bear the brunt of whatever the school management is doing?
No, I don't think so. I think minute the parents, every school needs admission. So the minute the parent says that we are going to be moving out of the school, I think the school will take cognizance. So when all parents get together, then there will be a huge movement. It has to be a mass movement. It cannot be just one parent standing. It has to be all parents supporting each other.
So there have been multiple fee hike protests in the past as well, but nothing really has happened. We've seen how the school management has shown that it can flex its muscles, arm twist parents, protest as much as you want, but nothing can be done. Ms. Anubha Sahai, you wanted to come in at this point.
Yeah, I would like to say a few things in this regard. As Article 21 is concerned, I am also holding one judgment of Supreme Court of 2000, which is Parent Forum for Meaningful Education versus Union of India, 1st December 2000, which talks about protection of child rights and also the fundamental right which is guaranteed under the Constitution of India under Article 21. And let me read out few paras where the Supreme Court has said that Supreme Court has held that every limb or faculty through which life is enjoyed is protected by Article 21. Then it further says that any act of violence which traumatizes, terrorizes a child or adversely affects his faculties falls foul of Article 21 of the Constitution. In view of the Convention of the Rights of the Child, which in clear terms cast an obligation on the state party to take all appropriate legislative, administrative, social and educational measures to protect the child from all forms of physical or mental violence or injury or abuse or
Ms. Masai, I apologize for interrupting you here. We're aware and we've been discussing existing child rights here on what guidelines have been put across by the CBSE, even this Parent Forum 2000 that you're telling us is along the same lines of what the Supreme Court guidelines are, what the CBSE guidelines are. It's all about child's rights. We want to know what are the parents' rights today? If the parents are witnessing a security lapse, there is a security lapse, what do we do as parents?
Can I come in?
Yes. As a parent, we can always file a complaint under Section 75 of Juvenile Justice Act, provided the police department registers that FIR.
Provided. That is a huge if, and that doesn't happen. Mr. Uday Vavikar, who is the Vice President of Consumer Court Bar Association. Mr. Vavikar, really appreciate you being with us to add another perspective to this discussion here. A parent cannot be seen as a customer or a consumer of a given school, because education is a service, not a business, so we don't even have rights as a consumer.
That's not correct. Yes. Maharashtra State Commission recently gave a judgment saying that in a school, I can read the judgment. I've got the judgment. Michael's High School versus Master Rahul Joshi, reported in Times of India, Mumbai Mirror, which is just yesterday, and today also there is a report. So both are reported. In this, there was a fight between the student, and student's hand was broken. The boy had broken the arm of the classroom fight school, and the school has been told to pay 2.30 lakhs rupees as a compensation. So this is the first step. There are several judgments of the Consumer Court where student has been considered. See, the difference of the Supreme Court judgment of Maharishi Dayanand, where education is not a service, was limited to only question of fees. I've got that judgment also of Maharishi Dayanand. It says only question of financial matters, and the pricing policy will not come under consumer. But where there is a deficiency of service, school is a service provider. When they are charging enormous amount like this private schools, non-aided school, question only comes where there is free of charge services given by the school. These are very limited school. Whether there is a consumer relationship because there is not a consideration was a question. That question also has been answered to an extent that though there is no consideration from our tax money, they have been benefited, they have been aided, and therefore it is an indirect consideration that we are paying, and the students' parents are beneficiaries of the services, and they are 100% consumers. So therefore,
so Mr. Vavikar, you're saying that
I will come 1 minute. Let me finish. In this case, where the forum said that the education is not a service has been set aside by Honorable State Commission, and the Honorable State Commission has quoted several National Commission judgments, which I can quote right now because I have got that judgment here. In case of Rahul Joshi versus St. Michael's School, Kurla. Now, even the National Commission considers that where there is a consideration already paid to the school and where there is a due diligence and due care has to be taken by the school and a negligence is proved prima facie or otherwise by an evidence, then the school is liable for compensating liability under the torts. School is liable for not only compensation but mental harassment, agonies and legal costs. And not only that, but the actual cost, if at all, like incurred in this case, where the parent had spent 1.5 lakh on the arm of the child, which was broken by another student. There was no, and the CCTV coverage said that there was nobody there, though it was in the school premises and verandas. Therefore, rightly so, Consumer Court today is allowing. People should not get scared. Consumer courts are faster than the other courts and silver line to a common man.
That's brilliant information, Mr. Vavikara, what you're saying, because the sense was that if a school is running by a trust or a society, it cannot be treated as a company. So the parent can't really go to a consumer court.
No, it's the other way around. There's a misunderstanding.
Okay.
The judgment of the trust came first time in the Pratibha Pratishthan by the Supreme Court. And I am dealing with these cases, therefore I am confident. Pratibha Pratishthan said a trust cannot be a consumer to file a complaint as such. So if there is a problem between the trustees, it becomes very difficult unless all trustees are made parties. You cannot come, this dispute cannot come. Here the trust has been made a party because it is running the school, the administration of school, the principal. In fact, in the case of the Master Rahul Joshi, all the trustees of the Michael High School has been made held liable. The principal of Michael High School jointly and severally is held liable. Mr. Moses Gomes, the manager of the secretary and the Michael Home School. So therefore, all the people who are responsible for due diligence of the school and due care has been held liable jointly and severally.
So it is their vicarious liability to
Mr. Vavikar, what do in this given case, as far as Pradyuman's case here is concerned,
correct,
what can parents really do? Can they also go to the consumer court?
Yes, they can.
If they feel that the police, in what we've observed today, is making a U-turn, is protecting the school management and saying that the crime scene was not dressed up, was not twisted?
In fact, to the extent they are saying the conductor is responsible and not the school authorities, Ashok Kumar.
Yes.
So therefore, I have studied that case also. Therefore, they can definitely go as an additional remedy because criminal action is a different action, civil action is a different action. Right. Consumer is a civil court. Criminal and civil can both go to side by side. There is no problem.
Right.
So therefore, they can easily file a case between the National Commission of Consumer Court, and I would advise them to do so for the simple reason that it is the final court of the Consumer Court. And what can be on compensation? You can't say a life of a child cannot be below 1 crore. And we have to set examples, though we are not United States of America, but definitely even DLF for unfair terms of practices, Competition Commission charge about 200 to 300 crores to the company. So this country is now awakening to the justice as an setting example. So therefore, we can file a case in National Commission for deficiency of service and unfair trade practices by not taking due diligence and due care on the security part by the school, which was responsible for the activities in the school, and ask for compensation, mental agonies, harassment, plus the loss of child, and of course it is priceless, but it can be asked to the tune so that it is for the schools like Rayon, who are charging millions of rupees, I mean in the sense lakhs of rupees per child. I think it will be an appropriate case to file before the National Commission, and that's a final court because appeal before the National Commission will be only
Ms. Anubha Saha, you were wanting to come in at this point. Do parents association bodies also inform parents of the existing laws, existing guidelines and their existing rights?
Yeah, it is mandatory for all the schools to inform not only parent-teacher association but all the parents about the existing laws which are in place in India, in their particular state also. It is mandatory for the principal as well as the management to inform each and every rules to all the parents, be it Right to Education Act, Consumer Protection Act or Child Rights Protection Act. And I would like to comment here one more point. I would like to suggest that consumer forum will take up only the compensation part. They will not penalize the school or management. But the Child Protection Committee, NCPCR and SCPCR, they have all the powers under Section 14 and 15 of Child Protection Act, where they can even take suo motu cognizance of this case, and they can even move to Honorable High Court and even District Court, and they can take up this case and they can also fight. Parents don't have to go to court and struggle for this case. Suo motu cognizance can be taken up by Child Protection Committee.
My question would be how many years?
Why they are not doing? Why are they not doing?
My question is how many years it would
how
take,
many?
and what would be the price that parents have to pay as the fees of the law?
How many is no. How many is nahi? Within few months the judgment will be passed by Honorable High Court. Why not? If Supreme Court can intervene and pass an interim order in one day, why not High Court will pass order in this case? We all will.
Yes. No, we of course talking about this particular case, of course, but we are looking at the larger issue of what parents face on a daily basis. To what extent can a security lapse be treated seriously enough is also what we are discussing. In other cases as well, should it really go through the long drawn out process of what the courts will decide, or we directly go to the consumer court for quick action here, is what Mr. Vivek Vavikar here, Mr. Uday Vavikar has been arguing as well. Mr. Vivek Rangabhashyam here, in what's really coming to the fore, that there are a few set of existing rights, one that parents of course are not aware of, and the other factor being of being intimidated as well. It's very easy for a powerful school management to intimidate parents, because what's at stake is the education of their child who's a student in that school, and it is very easy for a school management to intimidate armed twist parents, saying that if you continue protesting or raising issues in this manner, your child will be asked to leave.
Right. So, coming down to this point, as you just mentioned, why are our parents, why are these parents actually putting their children to these kind of schools? The main focus is, obviously, we're talking about social awareness. Obviously, we're going to have a quality of education that is probably, going to be the main focus. But a big part of the focus is also on security today. I wanted to extend a bit of a point on the setting an example part. The management has to be held accountable for this, this. I mean, who takes accountability at the end of the day?
Yes.
You've got our children in your schools. Who is really willing to take this accountability? It has to be the management. Okay, now irrespective of who, we're talking about the bus conductor has, in this Ryan International School, has been the main cause of this incident. You can talk about all these kind of factors. But at the end of the day, we have sent our children to your school. You need to really take the accountability and ensure the security and safety of my child. That is really what we need to focus on today. In terms of
no, but that's an ideal situation if you have the school management taking accountability. That's not happening. So what next?
Absolutely.
Do we go to the government, or do we go to the police, or do we go to the court? The government doesn't help either.
At this particular moment, obviously yes, the government, everybody seems to be, passing the buck off. I believe that. But in this particular case, I believe the consumer court would be the best place for you to go to. That's literally the place you have to go. This is the only way we can see things forward over here.
Mr. Raman Malik, would you like to come in at this point? The school does not take accountability, and the government seems to be protecting school managements as business houses as well. We're looking at this case in Haryana once again on how the Haryana police has made a clear U-turn. They first stated in court that the school will be held accountable as well for dressing up, for cleaning up the crime scene, and now they're saying that the school management cannot be held accountable.
See, please explain, how do you say that the police has taken a U-turn? The investigations are on, and it is a very critical time as of right now to divulge any information. Let us put in the charge sheet in this case, and probably then it would be a right time to see whether the investigations have been done correctly, whether the people who all could be indicted are indicted. You have to understand that a case, when it is submitted in the court, should be sustainable. You cannot put a case which is not sustainable. So all the evidences that there are, we are working very hard on it, and all possible means for the criminal culpability here are being looked into. That is one part of it. The second part of it is what is that is being done right now. As per my information, the DC as well as the SDM under whom these schools come, especially the Ryans, they are in regular touch with the parents. They are sitting down, discussions are being done regularly to understand where are the fear factors, how to resolve it, what are the best things to be brought in till the time the entire of this case is resolved. So all of those issues, whether it is even to the extent of the SDM going and taking a stock of situation with the parents to the school on a regular basis monthly, even those angles are being looked into. See, we have to understand there is an education system which has been here for a long time and it needs a rejig. I do not defy that it does not need a rejig. And as a parent also, I say that yes, there are supposed to be parent laws which protect the rights of the parents, because it's their hard-earned money which goes to developing a child. And in fact, that development of the child is also development of the nation. So their rights must be protected. Now comes the major part. The major part is that what and
just
how.
Just a second. Mr. Malik, please go ahead.
Yeah. So whatever you're talking.
Yeah. So when we say what and how is that the ministers at the central level are meeting, the officers at the state level in Haryana, they are meeting up in various other states also. This particular incident and a couple of incidents which have happened right after this have kind of shaken the consciousness of everybody in the system. And believe me, at least for Haryana, I can tell you that the additional secretary, everybody is finding out ways and means which we can reject.
Multiple guidelines exist. What are they meeting for now?
What rubbish?
I think regular monitoring is very important.
Please understand, there were no guidelines. Temporarily, the police in Gurgaon had given a guideline system.
What do you mean no guidelines?
The entire thing has again. Let's not go into this.
Are you saying Supreme Court guidelines are non-existent?
That has not happened.
CBSE guidelines are non-existent.
Please understand and take
NCPCR guidelines are non-existent.
Pradyuman's father.
What are you
way I respect that man, the way he's maturely handling himself.
Please be a bit more informed.
National channel.
Request you to please be a bit more well informed here, saying what do you mean by saying that there are no guidelines existing?
If FIR can be registered against parents,
the security guidelines which are being
within 2 hours,
the security
then why not
guidelines
against management? Why are you taking so many? Sir, let me comment here. If a FIR can be registered against parents, and I give you so many examples, within 2 hours, within half an hour, within 1 hour,
the principal today was called for questioning.
See, this is a very heinous
there were
crime
people who were taken in from the school. There was management people who were taken in from the school.
What are you talking,
we will not leave anybody.
Whoever can be held. What people are really expecting here is faster action, quicker action.
What are you talking?
It seems that the government is taking its own sweet will to go about in this case.
What are you talking, sir?
And now today you're saying that there are no existing guidelines on security.
The government is not taking its own sweet will, ma'am. 7 days. 7 days from the crime, we have guaranteed people that we are going to be putting in the charge sheet.
Already you are aware what charge sheet you are going to file. You are debating the entire investigation.
You all should resign. Take your responsibility and resign if you cannot save our children. You all
absolutely. There's no point on going slow in this case. Why hasn't the CBSE registration of the school not been revoked yet?
Slow?
2 hours mein protest karte hain parents.
Who's going slow? Please tell me who's going slow.
People are.
Sir, what action has been taken against the management?
We are guaranteed that they will be putting in the
management has been grilled today in Mumbai 4 days after the crime.
Answer my query today.
Why have you set a deadline of 7 days, set a deadline of 4 days, 5 days? Does it take that long to grill the management, Mr. Malik?
Please understand. We have sent in, we have sent, today is a Monday, we had a Saturday and a Sunday also in between. Things are being worked 24/7. Our team is in
Mr.
Mumbai
Malik, do away with the weekend, do away with the Saturday, Sunday. A crime has taken place inside school. Mr. Khagesh Jha, senior lawyer with the Supreme Court with us. Mr. Jha, in your view, we're talking, of course, keeping primarily the case of Pradyuman in mind here, are talking about the larger rights of parents, for the aggrieved parents here who continue to say that there has been a breach of trust. The system is working slowly, also perhaps giving time to the school management to prepare themselves on the manner in which they're going to be grilled as well.
The system is dead.
Mr. Jha.
Yeah, whatever the school management is doing and whatever the government is doing, maybe a spokesperson is saying they are doing everything, but there are two parts. One is regarding Pradyuman and another is about regarding guidelines or whatever law. We have to understand the guidelines are coming to qualify the law. Whether JJ Act was not working there, whether IPC was not in operation in Gurgaon, whether CBSE guideline which was already existing was not there, whether at least a dozen of Supreme Court directions and judgment was not working there, everything was working there. So that's why there is no question of this, and whatever they are saying right now, if they have even applied JJ Act, in that case also, there is a provision of arrest. Whatever I have seen, some CEO, one video of CEO I have seen yesterday, that was showing whatever overconfident and all these their political connections, we are not going in that detail. Now we are coming, means what is the options a parent is having. Right now there was a sufficient discussion about consumer laws and all these. But the thing is there, to take care of these kind of management, we are having sufficient law. Presently also, some of them, sometimes we are getting judgment even within couple of hours. Personally I got.
Yes.
Whatever is there, means whether it is a matter of fees, whether it is directly a child can approach, parent can approach, parent body can approach, any society can approach, anyone can approach. There is regarding child right, and even in JJ Act also there is anyone can approach there. As per DCPCR, NCPCR nowadays, those are means such a case.
Also getting into the everyday workings of a school, the manner in which a school management continues to arm twist parents. Sorry to sound so blunt about this, but this is what most school managements are doing, arm twisting parents. Mr. Ramakant Gaur, let's also get in the issue of indemnity bonds that parents need to sign time and again. Whether it is allowing your child to be using the swimming pool in school, you sign an indemnity bond. Whether it is about taking a school trip, you signed an indemnity bond with the school which states that the school authority is not responsible. You are sending your child to the trip, sending your child to the pool at your own risk. What does a parent do in this given situation? Because if you don't even sign that bond, then your child will not be able to participate in these everyday activities. So these are everyday instances of criminal arm twisting of parents. What does a parent do?
Undoubtedly, see, the law is very clear in this regard. Even such indemnity bonds are taken from the parents. They are not enforceable in case something happened due to the negligence of the management. And so in such cases, one should go ahead and assail the school management with full vigor. The law is with them. Now I come to the other part with which Mr. Malik has pointed out. He said that the charge sheet will be filed against the accused persons. This is a critical stage. They cannot divulge the mannerism of the investigation. This is not a case of spying or official secret act. This is a case which involves the entire country. The country is looking at them, and country is looking at the fair investigation. So this is not that case that the investigation details cannot be divulged. When every parent, like me and Mr. Malik also, he is very sensitive person as a person, he is really good. But as a political person, I don't know what is his compulsion to say that. But the before charge sheet, the investigation, the real investigation takes place. No investigation is being in actual senses taking place against the management. Had it been so, please tell to the country.
Why is
Mr. Malik, let him complete. Mr. Malik, don't interrupt at this point, please. Mr. Gaur, please go ahead.
Are they gone for a vacation?
Which managing director, which member of the management board is investigated, interrogated? There are n number of illegalities. There are a number of, why there was one toilet for the kids and these drivers? It was clear-cut case of responsibility of management. It is a clear case.
No, so Mr. Gaur, this is what we've been discussing. That the school management is perhaps bribing the government is protecting the school management, and the affected parents lose out on justice. So this is what we've been discussing. Even in this extreme situation today, what does a parent do? How do the parent association bodies help? How do existing consumer courts help? How does the Supreme Court guidelines help?
That the state government is not doing its job.
Sir, I did not say that. I said police is not conducting its job. Please, be specific.
The police is going slow on the school management, which is evident. 4 days later, only the CEO and the DM and the president of the Ryan School International being investigated. Mr. Malik, no matter how much you insist, no matter how much you try to insist tonight that work is being done, law is being followed, law is taking its own course, there is zero
I know the team is in Mumbai. That is why they ran for taking an anticipatory bail.
Met the parents
why did they run for taking an anticipatory bail
3 days
if
later,
the police was not acting?
Just before the Supreme Court hearing was coming up of the parents' request
why was
for the
when the
CBI
team was there, if the team is already in Mumbai, yesterday when the team left from here, yesterday or day before, now the Pintos have ran to the court for taking an anticipatory. I want to understand if the police was intending to save them or they were not acting. Why would they go there?
Why not on Friday?
Absolutely. They waited for their bail plea to be adjourned.
Are we supposed to direct them how to operate? There are certain procedures they are doing. And there are legalities involved. Are they not supposed to do those legalities? They can just put their face and go over.
You all have given him time to move a bail application in High Court.
You tell me, can the police just on its own just take its face and go over?
Right.
You are talking something so strange.
Why didn't you arrest him on Friday,
It is very good to sit down in a place where the things are comfortable.
No one's comfortable, Mr. Malik. No one's comfortable. We're all an anxious, worried lot today. No one is comfortable.
Where we are talking post-crime. Why did not your government swung into action and took the preventive measure? Why is there no provision of security audits?
Yes. Let's also get in Mr. Vivek at this point.
Implementation of the laws, because articles are enough, but what is an implementation? There is no implementation. Therefore, serious cases like Pradyumna or in case of this Rahul Joshi
and
are occurring.
That's why parents are at a losing end. There is no implementation, and that's why parents are at a losing end. Let's look at how technology can be used today. Mr. Vivek, if I could get you in at this point.
Therefore, my suggestion is class action petition is required by parents before the consumer court for implementation of the laws, especially for private schools and even other schools. And then there has to be a specific solution. Like, for example, hallmark of the gold, Ahmedabad, the waterworks were decided by a class action petition in consumer. Parent bodies can come, all requisite government authorities will be made parties. Let us have a specific monitoring guidelines with specific duties. Today, everybody is passing the buck. Why don't we have clear-cut implementation guidelines? Why can we have the immediate
we get your point. We get your point, Mr. Vavikar. Wanting to get in Mr. Vivek at this point, let's look at how technology can be used, because we're trying to have a constructive discussion on how does a parent feel empowered. Let's look at how technology is being used in schools.
So let's be very, very clear.
Okay.
So let's be very, very clear from my perspective. I come from a technology background. I'm from an IT background. When you have a private venture such as Ryan, I'm using this as an example right now, Ryan International School, the fees structure, the fees that a parent has to pay is phenomenally high. Why is it high? Because of the fact that the parent always seems to be in control. Today in the world is getting busier and busier every single day. Okay, so you really need to take control of the security aspect of a child. When CCTVs and all the dependent technology modules that are set into place fail, you just cannot justify that particular cost. How can anybody say that, you know, a CCTV camera, I'm sorry, it just didn't happen to work at that particular time? When the fee structure is so high, what you really need to focus on is overseeing the maintenance. You need to oversee a whole lot of facts. There have been multiple cases in Hyderabad, in Mumbai, this particular Maharashtra school too. I had read some articles about it online, where, you know, the dependence on technology is already so much today, and you're just allowing it to fail. Are you just using it as a marketing gimmick to promote your school to parents, or are you actually showing the dependence
and
on
to
technology
also justify charging a hefty fees? To also justify charging a hefty fees.
Even you will see 5%
of the revenue is the 3I rule. Excuse me, can I please complete my sentence if you don't mind? Yeah, thank you.
Vivek, please go ahead. Vivek, very quickly, please go ahead.
Thank you. Absolutely. Coming back to the 3I rule concept, which is something that I'm working on right now, which is the information, based on this information technology. How is it that we have GPS tracking available in schools today? We know the exact location of some schools. Why isn't this implemented? Why isn't the government trying to implement this in every school today? Who can we actually talk to? Who can people actually talk to get this implemented on a large scale? We've got enough technology. We've got enough people willing to do stuff for schools. Why isn't any action really being taken for schools? I just cannot figure out this particular fact.
All right, I'm going to be taking that question forth to one of our panelists, but very quickly we have to take in our viewers calling in. Ms. Sahai, please stay on with us. Our viewers have been calling in who are anxious, worried parents as well. Mr. Ramanathan Iyer from Mumbai, please go ahead first.
Thank you very much. Thanks a lot for connecting me the call. And I've been watching this case very closely, and I'm deeply hurt for the parents, because they've lost a son which is 7.5 years. I have an 8-year-old daughter who goes to an international school, and I'm really worried about it. That what is that? What type of security I'm going to give them? I don't even know. My school will take care of it or not. First and foremost, people, this case has to be given to CBI. I don't understand what is our government doing. 3, 4 days, 5 days, 6 days, we are waiting for it. Let's just go and catch the management, put them and ask questions to them. What is this happening? Are we staying in a country which is digital? We are talking about digital. What is technology? What technology we are using? I'm not able to understand at all. I think we need to seriously take an action, and CBI has to get involved in this.
We understand your pain, we understand your concern and the absolute disappointment with the system as well. They're still going slow on this case. There is a sense that they are going slow on this case. Sterner action, immediate action that should have been taken against the school management. Our next caller, Sohan Singh from Dehradun.
Yes, ma'am. Good evening.
Good evening.
I am Sohan Singh from Dehradun. Thanks a lot for giving me a chance. You see, I just would like to say it is not the question, or rather the problem with the Ryan International School. This problem is throughout the country with the international or normal schools, because it is a mistake of the politicians and the education department who are giving the clearance to the people to open these schools. You just go and check. There is no, whatever the criteria has been laid down for the 10+2 or 10th classes and all that, there is most of the things are not available in these schools. I have also been in the school, that's what I'm saying. Right. Number one. Number two, it is not possible to control. Now it is beyond the control. Because the people whom they appoint this private school, mostly they are known to them, and it is sort of a picnic for them. It may be in certain schools where the education system is good. Otherwise,
Mr. Singh, we get your point. the sentiment here being that education no longer being seen as a service, clearly being seen as a business which is being run ruthlessly. It is quite literally being run ruthlessly. Mr. Malik, your response to what one of the callers said here, and also specifically speaking that there are existing guidelines. There is also, if you could answer on behalf of the ruling BJP in both the state and the centre here, certain guidelines that were brought up by the NCPCR, suggestions that were to be taken up by the new education policy as well. This was ascertained last year, and to date, the HRD has not taken it up. Tomorrow you have the HRD minister meeting with the Women's and Child Development Minister. It's going to be yet another mundane meeting of discussing new guidelines, new stringent laws, nothing that shows on ground.
See, one thing is very clear here. Incidents like these shake up not just the parents like me, like others, like Pradyuman's father. We are all parents, we are all shaken up. But it also shakes up the existing system, and the system which is probably a little too lethargic at times to act. There's no defiance from that. But then, at the end of the day, one must understand that when we talk about this specific case or the other cases, the people sitting on those seats have to understand that today is the time when you will have to act faster, because that is what is desired from you. And that is what is being discussed.
Mr. Malik, that's what we're saying. There has not been fast action seen on ground. Who's shaken up? Parents are shaken up, people are shaken up, the government and the school management is not shaken up.
They've become lethargic.
Okay, Haryana government has become lethargic.
At least I can tell you,
school management is not shaken up.
It works. No. The Haryana government is working overtime to create an ecosystem which can suffice the aspiration of people. The ministers, Rambilasi, he is taking his own, in-depth meetings on these issues, because what we do today does not only affect today, it also affects the entire quality
Mr.
of
Malik,
education
not sure about the overtime definition you have. It took 3 days for Manohar Lal Khattar to meet the aggrieved father here, the parent in this given case. And there's still, despite the parents making it very clear that they want the CBI to step in, the Haryana government is not handing over the case to the CBI either.
You must understand.
So I really don't know who's shaken up here. The school management continues to remain stubborn.
One is that I do a vulture tourism.
Lawyer give out a statement today shockingly saying that now they are being made victims,
things in action,
and the parents have a political backing. That's why the case is being taken up.
At least we have some answers to give them. We
so
can't just say, oh, we are very sorry because this has happened.
Here?
But at least when our chief minister spoke, he spoke with the entire details of what has happened and what the government is doing, what the police is doing. He did not give just a courtesy call. He gave a working call which told, yes, this is what we are doing.
Mr. Khagesh Jha, you wanted to come in at this point here. It's unfortunately in certain circumstances speaking to a brick wall. It's about having the system shaken up, but that's not what we're seeing on ground. You wanted to come in at this point, yeah?
Can I request something?
Okay.
There are two parts. There are two parts of this. One is about Haryana government or whatever. If really government is serious today, also I am telling you, tomorrow ministers are meeting, but there are certain things, even countrywide, simply there is norms under Right to Education Act itself in Annexure 4. If they are adding all these things there, then automatically that will be applicable for entire country as a law, and even as parents can approach a civil judge at local level. But what they are doing, they will try to deviate the issue. The main concern is there, if you will see who is running these schools. Most of them are the politicians of all the political party, top bureaucrats. So these people, who will take action against them? If you will see this school, this is also run by one of very senior politician of any of the party. I'm not going in detail of that party. Everyone know ki she belongs from which party. The thing is that ki there is guideline, there is everything. But who will act? What action? Haryana.
So why don't you enlighten?
That's exactly what we're discussing, on how parents feel cheated, on how they feel they're caught in a system here where they can do nothing about. It's about their child's future. It's about paying fees every given month, and there's nothing that they can do about it. Miss Kavita,
request all the parents that at least as a school safe.
Why does not he say? And then I'll tell him where it is.
2, 3 or 4 things.
Ryan International has been totally patronized by somebody else, and they know it. Had this been a Saraswati Shishu Mandir or something, I would have seen what these people would have done.
We're not wanting to get political here. We're still being civil about this. Ms. Kavita, please come in.
In the meantime, I mean, while the government comes with everything, I would request that all parents get together and form a school safety committee, which can have members of the school and also many parents, maybe different professions, maybe an engineer or a doctor, to check every security, the water security, the electric security, infrastructure, equipment, and to do monitoring once every 2 months and give the report. The report is very, very important, and auditing will help. At least having an audit report will help, because you cannot wait for an incident to happen and then check everything. Having something before also will work.
Okay.
So, very important. And for that itself, tomorrow we are, as NISA, we are having 78 schools meet together to decide SOPs and systems and policies to be put into every school.
Do you know the...
So once again, it's for the parents coming together and doing all the running around here. Even it's about, if it's about having a larger body of parents association. Mr. R.L. Keshwani from Mumbai, one of our viewers have called in. Mr. Malik, if you could please have some silence here, listen into one of our viewers calling in. Mr. R.L. Keshwani from Mumbai, please go ahead.
This is R.L. Keshwani from Mumbai. Look, I've been seeing all these debates on the TV and right now on your channel. Let me tell you from personal experience. About 8 years ago, my nephew's son, while on a picnic in a school near Mumbai, died. Okay? And before going to picnic, you know, they normally write, that you're not having any, that this is on your risk and all that.
It's an indemnity bond that we discussed, an indemnity bond that is signed.
Okay. Now, let me tell you, this school belongs to a politician, okay? And then, though the boy's mama was the ADC to the President of India then, nothing happened. Nothing happened because there's a nexus. There's a nexus between the police, the politicians, and the people who run these schools. Unless we have a deterrent, unless there's a fast-track court which takes immediate decisions and people are punished, let me tell you, this will go on.
Mr. Uday Vavikar, would you like to come in at this point? Can a consumer court be the only deterrent, which you say works faster than the civil courts? But it depends on each given case. On every given case, you can't have a parent running to a consumer court here.
Consumer courts are faster than any other litigation system in our country so far, and that is an analysis. They are more sensitive to the consumers' cases, especially parents and beneficiaries. But I would not say, my question is, why can't civil courts be faster? Why can't criminal courts be faster? There is a need of entire rejuvenation of the judiciary itself. High courts have become an intermediary courts most of the time.
We know that the system is burdened, but what do? We cannot wait for a reform in the judiciary.
Therefore, the consumer courts have come in. There also it requires reforms to have more faster. 90 days is a directive principle of the laws, but government is not providing infrastructure facility. And the most problem is we are under food and civil supplies. So therefore, even there we have to tighten. Why can't Mr. Malik look into the equal judiciary when consumer courts are replacing civil courts?
Right. Also, does ownership, the kind of ownership of the school, Mr. Vavikar, come in here? Whether the school is run by a trust or a society or registered as a company?
It does not matter as far as consumer court is concerned, because they are the management. In the recent case of Maharashtra, where the state commission on the basis of national commission said the St. Michael school is a trustee, all trustees are made parties. So really, technically, consumer courts are expected to be devoid of technicalities. Accountability comes as the first and foremost. and therefore the corporate veils also could be lifted, and they have been lifted from time to time, even in case of patpadis and banks, where the consumers are duped and their hard-earned money is in fixed deposits. Directors of the banks have been made liable. So therefore, the question comes, though there is a natural justice, at the same time, the justice for consumer is the uppermost, and so far, the judgments which are coming even after 3 years or 4 years maybe, the judgments are upheld, they have been implemented, because there is an implementation power with consumer court where you can directly send a person not complying the order to the jail for 3 years. 7 builders in Mumbai have gone to the jail directly. So that kind of implementation power, most of the civil courts do not have.
There is a clear option for parents here, parents watching us. This is what the discussion is, the real purpose of the discussion, to give you options in the existing system if you're not aware of your rights and the exercise your rights or what exists on ground. Consumer courts is a place where you can go to actually seek justice on lapses that you've observed.
I will only add up in the case of this St. Michael's school or the other cases where there is a non-compliance of order, the trustees can go inside behind the bars through consumer court.
Okay.
For 3 years.
All right. Miss Anubha Sahai, if you could come in at this point, and let's also talk about existing regulatory authorities. Existing regulatory authorities on this.
Right. See, consumer court will only give compensation. I don't think they will act against the management, and they will hold them responsible, and they will file a criminal case.
Non-compliance of the order, not only compensation, but for non-compliance of any order of taking up the security, the CCTV and the other implementation, if they have been directed, if there is a non-compliance, they can go to the jail. Under Section 27 directly from consumer court.
No, Ms. Sahai, what Mr. Vavekar is saying based on an existing case that has already happened in the past, and he's speaking as the Vice President of the Consumer Court Bar Association. So he's also speaking on the basis of an existing case.
But my question here is,
parents who've already sought justice through this route.
Ma'am,
they have power only in Section 27. That's
I know about consumer court. But my question is, if any order. Sir, if any order will be passed, then only consumer court will intervene. That they will issue direction to that particular authority that to comply that order. Here, the state government is not passing any order only. Until unless any order will be passed by state government or by police department or education department, how will
Mr. Vavekar, should a parent be waiting for a state government to step in?
First of all,
there is a misconception somehow. I am sorry to my learned Kani, maybe she has not looked into Consumer Protection Act. The point here is whether there was a deficiency of service or unfair trade practices by the school. The first issue of indemnity bond is a total unfair trade practice where the school management can be punished, and such agreements ab initio can be not implemented. Second issue here is where you have taken the money and you have not taken the security of the child, due diligence and due care of the child. There is a straight deficiency of service. I do not require, or the consumer courts do not require, any government guideline as far as this is concerned. This is a sheer contract, this is the sheer service, and the education systems are giving service because they are taking money, consideration, and therefore for deficiency of service they are absolutely liable.
And can parents also take the school management to consumer court if they are not making their audit transparent?
The question is which audit?
The annual audit here.
The question is, as far as the accounts and monetary transactions are concerned, there is a different body altogether. There is a school tribunal. Therefore, as far as the administrative powers of the body are concerned, consumer courts would not involve unless they are affecting directly to the children and parents. Because ultimately, we are here to see and safeguard the ultimate consumer. The financial transactions such as fees, and therefore the Supreme Court said that the audit, the fees, the other administrative guidelines, unless they are like safety guidelines, unless they are essential guidelines, unless they are the rights of the parent and the rights of the children are tempered, services are not given properly, we would come under Consumer Protection Act.
All right, Mr. Vivek, if you would like to come in at this point, we've discussed various aspects of the kind of rights that the parents have really in seeking justice through courts. We were talking about technology. We're looking at indemnity bonds here as well. As far as intimidation of parents here is concerned, what does a parent do? How does a parent seek immediate justice here on intimidation that perhaps you could be facing very regularly?
Obviously, we've got stalwarts in, stalwarts talking about the law over here. I personally feel that the consumer court always plays a big hand over here when it comes to the legal aspect of things. Schools are definitely, from a technology perspective, schools are definitely run as a business today. It is a very profitable business, in fact, judging by the fees that I researched upon this evening. Yes. When it comes to taking the accountability, all these indemnity bonds and all that actually play a very bad role when it comes to, in this particular case, based on whatever we have managed to see and whatever's been highlighted, you can just make out based on what everybody has said that indemnity bonds actually, really don't help in the kind of structure or the vision that the school is really trying to portray, or the, kind of way the school is trying to portray themselves.
Absolutely. There is an immediate breach of trust. If you bring up an indemnity bond, there is an immediate breach of trust.
It is an unfair trade practice.
No. I mean, what is the message you're trying to send? What is the message you're trying to send? We'll take your child, we've got this platform, but hey, if anything goes wrong, we can't do anything. Right? That is the message that is being sent over here. I'm sure all the parents out here would be really, really worried to send any child to any particular school. First of all, I think one of the biggest things, a guideline that should be followed in schools, is check the technology out. We use CCTVs, cameras and all. We have so much of security, and that's just a marketing gimmick today. I feel that the seriousness has not been focused over here. Let's be honest, a child is dead. We've got the result of bad or lack of use of technology today. Let's be very, very clear. We have a solution. It is inexpensive today to implement these solutions. We've got GPS tracking. We've got CCTV cameras. We've got adequate amount of security people, armed security people in some cases, who can really take care of this entire, this whole thing very seriously. There would have been a child alive today if these systems would have been in place. If they're not in place, you need to go to the consumer court and
this is what, Vivek, we've been saying from the start. There are enough number of existing rules and guidelines here for schools to implement and follow. It's just that they're not being implemented on ground. There is a political backing for them to be protected without doubt. Let's be clear about it. Let's not be naive about it. It's a clear sign of how you have a powerful school management and a given state government protecting each other in the wake of such horrifying cases as well. Believe it or not, the most damaging statement that came in from Pinto's lawyers today, accusing Pradyuman's parents, saying that they have powerful political backing and it is the Pintos who are being made a victim of. Believe it or not, this is a statement that's coming from a family who runs a large chain of schools, service education as a service, which should be the ideal case, but is treated as a ruthless business instead. We've been discussing through this hour on what parents can do, and tonight we have some answers for the parents. If you are forced to fill in an indemnity bond, you have the right to stand up and say no and take the school management to task. You cannot, in fact, you cannot be abused by their power in this way. You can go to consumer courts as well. You think that education is not a product that you're buying from the school, it's a service, but despite that, given the fact that you're paying a fees for a service, you can still go to consumer courts. These are some of the points that we've learned today. Hopefully, many parents watching us tonight have some real answers. There are parents across the country who've been protesting on how to make a school management follow the existing law, the existing guidelines. Hope you've got these answers by watching our show tonight, which is meant for parents, children, schools across the country as part of our campaign, Make Our Schools Safe. Thank you for being with us.